Okay, let's pick up where I left off. I love that I can literally just press my start streaming button, and if the cover photo's set up and everything like that, I don't have to do anything else. Just press the button and go. Hopefully sometime soon I can hire somebody to do a lot of the cover photo stuff for me, because I'm not good at that. Or maybe we could make a tool at some point. I could do a tool where basically you can just put in the title of the thing you're going to stream and instantly export a cover photo, so I don't have to open up Canva and do stuff like that. Anywho, where was I at? So we're using Postman to run some tests and stuff. Now, I decided I don't think I'm going to use UUIDs. So I'm probably just going to delete that throughout the application. I see no reason that I would need them. Um, Even with like optimistic updates, there's no real legitimate reason to have unique unit ID or whatever they're called. So let's look for everything that says UUID. And then we can start basically killing some of these things. Identify by cookie middleware. What? That's really weird. Why would the cookie be a UUID? Okay, so that's probably to identify the user. So if we go to user.php, okay, not there. Let's say users, as in the users table. Yeah, that's using an ID. Oh, okay. I see. This is just basically creating a unique string. I could have really just generated a random string to identify the person who's sending the requests back and forth. So that's kind of an exception. I actually do kind of want it to be in that file. So that's one reason we would the one place that we would use it. Scopes to request UUID model. Are they all extending that? Okay, it looks like they are, but what's happening in here? Yes, but once again, this is using that. Oh my goodness, it just clicked. I know what it does now. Ah, okay, so the reason we have a UUID, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot this. This just helps you scope data to the user. And so every single model has one so that we can scope the data to a specific user. So I don't think I got rid of any of them, which is good because we need to keep that. That's how it knows the data is to the person who sent the cookie. It's kind of like an alternative way to do authentication, and that's why I put it in there. Okay, cool. Lucky I didn't end up removing that. So what else was I working on? I was mostly just working on requests and making basically the errors for requests a little bit nicer. And I think the one that we were on is this one here, project requests. So let's go to projects controller. And that's right, I was trying to figure out how to do a unique on multiple fields. So we got label here. And I think that is then going to have to be an object. So let's turn that into an object. Not an object, sorry, an array. Yeah, probably have to be an array of rules, I think. Let's go back into the docs and try and figure this out. Oh no, it looks like you can just do it directly in there like so. All right, so let's come back here and do it that way. So we're basically saying the rule projects, that's going to fetch all of the projects, and we basically want to say where. Is there a way I can pull in the data here now? Because I need to have the data in order to check those rules. I might have to use forcing a unique rule to ignore a given ID. To instruct the validator to ignore the user's ID. This example also. Yeah, so basically my problem now is I need that data. So I'm going to use Laravel Ray here to see if I can tap into that. And I think it might have updated, so I might have to wait for the update to come through. Am I using Ray in this project? I hope so. Right, yeah, I am using Ray, so you can tell because I got the file there. So how about this? Let's just do Ray here to check if it's working. Working. And then we want to hit that endpoint. So to hit that, we're going to have to say projects, and this is a common rule. So let's just add a new collection here, and we'll call this project. And then we want to do a post request. So this is going to be to create a new project. And then the URL is going to be API endpoint / projects. And then it's going to have a label. And let's just say my project for the label and see what happens here if I try and hit that endpoint. Oh, so project doesn't have a label. We call it a name with a project. Let's try that. Okay, that made the project, and let's open up Laravel Ray and see if it got hit. So working got hit. That means I can just tap in here. I want to see if my common rules can accept anything here. Can I say like data there like that? Oh no, it's saying that I can't. Bugger. All right, so that's not going to work. We can pull the request out of here. Oh, this is a request project. So let's log the request. What if we say this? I can probably just say input. And I should be able to do that just to pull out the input. So let's try that. We'll go back to Postman, hit that route again. Okay, I'm not so worried about that. I just want to see if we got the request back. What's this? That looks like that's an error message, and this is the request. So we did actually get the data from the request. So what we need to do here now is basically say, not for the label. We don't want to do that for the label. I can't remember what our rule was. Let's say project. Okay, so it has to be unique by the name and the ID. Why would I say ID there? That makes no sense. Okay, so it would be the name and the UU ID. So in other words, the user, because you can kind of think of this as the user with our setup, the name of a project cannot, you can't have two project names for the same user. That's what that's all about. So we're going to have to remigrate this artdb wipe, and then we'll migrate the database there. And so basically I want to say here, what field? I don't really want to say a specific field. Can I literally just throw the rule in directly like that? What's going to happen if I try and do that? Rule unique. Right, okay, so it's validating that with the email. What's this ignore part? If your table uses a primary key column name other than ID, you may specify the name of the column when calling the ignore method. Yeah, okay. By default, the unique rule will check the uniqueness of the column matching the name of the attribute being validated. However, you may pass a second column name as a second. But I want more than that. So that's why we're using the additional where clauses. And then basically, so is that going to do email and account ID? Create to only search records. Okay, so I think what I can do, if I do it this way, it's going to scope it to the email and the account ID. So let's try using that logic here. I might just copy everything in there. Maybe even the entire thing. And let's see if we can figure this out. So let's say the name of the project needs to be unique. The name that I've passed through needs to be unique on the projects table. And we also want to say where the UUID is equal to this, because that's going to give us the request, and then input, and then the UUID. In fact, I can just say this UUID, I'm pretty sure, and that's just going to pluck it out directly. So that should do it. Oh, sorry, I just need to like burp to myself for a second then. Grace. So now we've got the name that's equal to, let's call this other project. Other project, it's definitely going to have a UUID because that's passed through in every request. So I can guarantee that that's going to be included. Oh, but how do I pull that out? I can't say this UUID. I need to pull it out in a different way because it's sitting within a cookie. Oh man, this just keeps getting more and more complicated. So let's say Laravel get cookie from request. Let's go with that. No, I don't want to get it set. I just want to get it. There's probably something in here for like getting a cookie. HTTP request. It would be somewhere in there. And let's look for something related to cookies. So cookies. So we can just say request cookie and send through the name. That's awesome. So let's go back to this to find out what it is. The cookie is literally just called UUID. So now what I can do is say whether UUID is equal to this cookie. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's even typing it in there. I should have just done that. UUID. I think that's what we need to do. So let's have a go at this now. And remember, UUID is basically like saying this current user because every single request is scoped using a cookie with UUID on it. That's what makes this API work in terms of like quote unquote authentication. It's not true authentication. This is just a really fast way to allow people to have data that's specific to their computer when they're just playing around with this API, which is the whole point of the API. So let's send that through. That worked. Now, if I send this through, I should get an error if I send it through again. There we go. The name has already been taken. That's exactly what I wanted. And let's say other project, send that through. That worked. If I send it through again, it didn't work. But if I clear my cookies, it should work again. So let's get rid of that cookie there, get rid of that cookie there. I don't know what that one's all about. Let's just leave that. Send it through. And it worked, which is exactly what we want. Because now we've got two projects with the same name, but that's okay because the UUID, in other words, the user, is different. All right, so that's awesome. We got this working now. We're validating the name. We don't have anything else that we need to validate on the project. So let's start going through these one at a time now and just check that we've got them set up properly. So if we go to, we'll be under app, models. We've got a comment. So let's go into comment. We want to have a comment request. So let's come in here and say, make a request. And this is what I should have done from the beginning. It's really important you do it properly. You do proper validation from the beginning. So comment request, here it is here. Looks like I've already done a little bit of validation for that. And now we can say comments to actually look at the data that's sitting on that. All right, so you need to make sure the user who's sending that through exists. And the rest probably doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if the body is, there's no constraints between the body or commentable because you can comment on it as many times as you want. So that's done. There's nothing else I need to do on this. In fact, I might even get rid of that. Actually, one thing we will do is we'll make it that the body of the comment is required. You can't have a comment that's equal to nothing. So let's say required. So user ID is definitely required. The body is definitely required as well. In fact, actually, I don't know if the user ID should be required because it should just be figured out. Oh, you know, this is going to be implemented later on anyway. Just like this doesn't really make sense in our application yet because we don't have authentication or authorization, all that kind of stuff. Like the user model doesn't really exist yet in the API itself. So we go to api.php. Okay, so it did make it so that you can create users. All right, so let's come back at this again and have a look. That's checking if the ID exists. That's saying the body is required. And this can morph to anything, and you should be able to make as many comments as you want. Yeah, so that's fine with me. I don't think anything on that needs to actually be changed. We probably do want to say that this can't be updated, though. I don't know if you can update a comment. So let's have a look at how we can disable routes. I think we can go into api.php, and with this comment section, think there's a way where you can say like not other routes, except, there we go. What would it be called? What are those routes called? Like create or something? What's the name of the methods? The way we're gonna have to check this, I think, is literally just run through and see what the routes are and see if it disappears or not. So we'll jump into Quasar cast and we'll jump into, where is it? To-do-API. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit for everybody. Let's say art route list just to check if that's working, and it is. And we want to say where the name is equal to comments. Cool. So the one we want to get rid of, batch store is fine. The one we want to get rid of is update. You shouldn't be able to update a comment. So accept update. Let's run that again and see what we end up with. Okay, cool. So we can very, very easily disable routes. And I wonder if I can come in here and remove batch operations for comments, because I don't think it makes sense to have batch operations. So maybe Orion has a way of doing that quickly. Batch operations, is there a way you can disable them? To disable all batch, here we go. We can simply say without batch. How cool is that? Thank you, Orion. You've made this so ridiculously easy. I love it. Without batch. Let's do that. And there we go. So if we come back here and have a look, now we've got index. That makes sense. Storing comments. That makes sense. Searching comments. Yes, that could make sense. Show, delete, of course. And we'll keep the restore endpoints as well. Cool. So it's very easy to scope down like what parts of the API you actually want as well. So Orion's done an absolutely phenomenal job here. Just got to take my jumper off. I'm getting a little bit hot. Things are heating up. Oh man, my arm's stuck in my jumper. By the way, do you guys want to see my face? I don't like having my face in my recorded videos, but I don't know if you want. Hang on, there I am there. I think there's a way I can sort of move myself in here. I'm gonna leave myself there for a little while, just in case you guys are into that kind of thing. But I'm usually like, well, the code, this is just about the code, so I don't know. Some people feel like it makes them feel more connected. Oh, look, I can move myself around as well. Ooh, so I can be like, hey, check this part out here. That's so silly. I could point to things. I could do stuff like this. I could come over here and be like, check this out. How cool is that? Oh, gosh. I'm surprised nobody's dropped off after I've done that. So anyway, we want to make sure we were building requests for everything. So let's go into the user request. Have we got that? No, we don't. So let's go ahead and make that. So that'll be called a user request. Oh, apparently it already exists. I must have spelt it wrong before. I probably did the plural by accident. So user needs to have a name. Let's jump into users table to see. Yeah, that's it. They're just going to have a name. In this application, a user is ridiculously simple. So let's add another one in here. Oh, what am I doing? I don't want to add another one. I just want to look for another one. We've done that. We've covered projects. We've covered comments. We've covered to-do lists. And we've covered to-dos. So this is actually ready. I'm going to just go ahead and push this. Git status. So git add dot git commit message. What am I doing here? So I'll just say better request handling. It's only for my own records. So honestly, the message doesn't even matter that much because what we're doing is so ridiculously simple. Now, I think I had one called SSH Quasar cast. There we go. So I can SSH into that because that's going to be pushed straight away onto Laravel Forge. And then once we're in there, I can CD into the to-do application, which is what we're working on now. And then I can say PHP artisan, and we'll wipe the database. Yes, it's okay. I just need to make sure I'm in to-do. I don't want to wipe my production database. And by the way, if you're watching this and you haven't signed up for quasarcast.com, check it out, quasarcast.com/register. This is where you'll find like a lot of my cleaner videos. And I put a lot of my live streams up on here as well, podcasts, stuff like that. And if you're interested, I'll show you how I do metabase.quasarcast.com. Check this out. This is how I actually do my analytics on this website. Internet's running a bit slow today. Hopefully my stream isn't being affected by this. Yeah, I use Metabase to do analytics. So when people sign up, I can go to this growth section and see how many people signed up for Quasarcast. And I can see how many have been signing up over time and get some cool stats like that. So this is one thing I'll actually like to show on Quasarcast itself at some point, how you actually build out an analytics dashboard kind of like this. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. All right, moving back. So let's see if that's done. That's probably going to be done by now. So I'm going to think I can safely say PHP Artisan migrate to migrate that into production. Yes, okay, so that's done. Let's see if it actually works now. If I come back to my environment, I can change my default environment here. And we'll set that to .com, so we're not on the test environment anymore. And now I can come back in here. And let's go ahead and create a project called my project. Run that. There we go, that worked. If I run this again, it should fail. There we go, and it gives us a handy message as well. So that means that it has indeed been pushed to production. How cool is that? Let's move along. In fact, I might be ready now. I think I might be ready now to start working on the next part of the website. So yeah, next if I go to Quasarcast, no, not Quasarcast, what is this? This is Quasar-to-do. This is the getting started guide that I'm working on. So let's open that in Visual Studio Code. I'm going to simplify things a little bit here because we're now working on something different. Make sure I've got a Chrome window that I can easily switch to. And I'm not going to need you anymore. And I'm not going to need you anymore. You're now working just fine. So the next thing I'll do is a video where I teach them how to use the API. And then when I'm done with that, I don't need you anymore either. I can then show them how to hook it up with Axios. So that's what I'm going to work on now. The code for hooking this up to Axios. And let's just run git status on there to check that it's clean. Yes, so now that means I'm safe to start playing around with this. Jump out of full screen, whack it on the side, whack you on the side. Get our server up and running. And we can go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is create a module. So let's come in here and say Quasar new. Oh, I need a burp. I've been having a lot of I found this elderflower syrup, and I'm obsessed with elderflower drinks, and I couldn't find one for almost like a year. I've just been looking at every shop I go to see if they've got like an elderflower fizzy drink because I think it's so delicious. And I went to this kind of niche shop today with my girlfriend, and we found this elderflower syrup. So I'm like, oh my gosh, yes! Went out and bought some soda water and just mixed that with some of the elderflower, and it's kind of like an elderflower, you know, like a normal elderflower fizzy drink. So it's really cool. I'm super psyched about that, and drank probably a little bit too much of it, so I'm a little bit burpy. But that's the way it is. I can cut it out in my videos, but I can't cut it out in my live streams. Okay, so the first thing we're going to work on is make it so that when you click on this button, it's going to go ahead and create a to-do for us. So let's make that happen. We want to create a new... Oh, what have we got available to us? Is that going to tell us? What do they call it when it's Vuex? A new store. Sweet. So let's say Quasar new store, and this is going to be for a to-do. So maybe I should say to-dos plural. I don't know what the usual pattern is for store names. We get an example store by default, so maybe I can use that as a reference. Store module dash example. That's kind of weird to me. I'm just going to call it to-dos because that makes sense to me. So now we get that new store. I can delete the old one that you get by default. And now we want to actually use that store. So this part here I'm going to comment out because this is the example we get. But instead of example, we're going to call that to-dos. And instead of module dash whatever, I'm just going to simplify this by calling it literally to-dos. Then we can come in here, comment that out, and change that to to-dos. and we should now be using our store. And hopefully the current version of Vue allows me to play around with the store. I actually don't think it does. Yeah, this is kind of annoying. Like, in the current state of Vue 3, you can't mess around with your store using the console. This is like frankly, I think it's a huge problem. This will work on Vue 2. You'll get an option for store, but you don't get it with Vue 3 because they're basically saying we're going to leave that up to the community to create a store plugin. So, like, honestly, I think that kind of sucks, but hey, Vue.js is 3, so I shouldn't be complaining. All right, so it's going to be hard for us to analyze our store, but I'm just going to have to accept that in this video. Let's come in here and start nutting things out. The first thing we will probably do is create a getter, because we're going to be using Postman in this video series. So I can open up Postman and we can get them to create data. Oh, but their cookie's going to be different. So their cookie on Postman will be different to the front-end cookie. So I can't just get them to create stuff in here and then pull it in on the front end. That actually won't work. So there we go. We're going to have to scrap that idea. And before I go through any of this, I'm going to have to teach them how to set up Axios. So what we'll end up doing is jumping into this Axios library. And I'll probably say, look, we're going to cross this out because I'll explain it to you myself. And there we go. So this is going to be our API version of Axios. We can set, and if you set that to API, no, what was it? todo-api.quasarcast.com. That's my free API that is available on the web that we can use to build this application out. And now putting it on global properties like this. So when we say app config global properties, what we're basically saying is I want this to be globally available on the Vue instance, which means that when I'm in a component using the options API and I say this $Axios, this is what makes that work. Being able to put Axios on our component, that's what makes that work. And it's the same with the API as well. We have an instance of Axios with the base URL equal to the API, which means we can do stuff like this. This.$API.post. So then we can do a post request to, for example, to-do/whatever. Now, we're also exporting API there, which means that we can import the API out of this file anywhere within our application. So somewhere else in our application, we can say import, and then we can pull out API. So that's why we've got export API here. Import API from boot/Axios, which is this file up here. And once again, boot is an alias. So Quasar gives us that alias for free, which means we can very easily find the boot file no matter where we are within our application. All right, so let's cut that. I might actually end up using it. I might not. I don't know yet. And so that's what I'll probably teach first. In fact, I should really get my markdown file out so we can start doing this properly. Getting started, Vuex. Let's open up that markdown file. And I'll whack it up here. So the first thing we'll do is set up Axios. And let's jump into that file, and I'm going to copy paste that in there. There we go. So I can explain that to people so they understand what that means. What else? The next thing I'll probably do is create the module. So then we'll create the module. Create to-do module. And that's going to be, the code for that will look something like this. Quasar new module to-dos. Then we want to reference the module. We can probably leave that in the same section. So this is in the JS file. And where is it? It's index.store. That's obvious to me. So I'm just going to say here, reference module in store/index.js. That's going to be obvious to me. I know what that means. Once we've created the to-do module and we've referenced the to-do module, we can start doing the logic for it. All right, so let's go ahead and do that now, and then I can record what I do. So first we'll go to store, and we'll probably start with the actions. Let me just think about this. The actions, do we do the actions first? You have to do actions before we can do the mutations. We can't do the getters because we won't have any data on the front end yet. What about the state? And in the state, it's going to say entities, which is where we'll actually store all of our to-do items, and they will be inside of an object. Yeah, okay, so we'll do the state first. So let's come in here and we'll say create a to-do list. Create some space there. And we'll just add that into state.js. So let's say here, state.js. So yeah, that's probably a good first step. Make sure the state looks the way it's going to look. And then once the person watching knows what I'm going to do there, so I'll also have to explain like what this is going to look like. So I might even say here like explain or show sample data. And so then I can say to them something like, so for example, if we had an entity with an ID of 4, that might be equal to something like this. The label of the to-do, which would be my to-do. And then you would also have the ID, which will probably be the first field there. So the ID would also be equal to 4. And then you might have something else like, I don't know, what else is a good to-do got? It's got a to-do underscore list underscore ID, which we actually won't have. So in a lot of cases, for us, that's going to be equal to null. So I can do that. I can explain that to them as well. I think that would be really handy. So let's save that and just make it clear we're explaining data there. In fact, what I can probably do is we can have that data and then do getters next. Yeah, so if we do state.js, okay, this is a good idea. We can do a couple of sample bits of data like that and say like, here's an example of what another to-do might look like. For example, a to-do with an ID of 6, and then this one can be like buy lettuce, and this one could be like buy tomatoes. And now what we can do is have a getter for that. Okay, this is good. I like this. We can do the state and the getter so that they can get something on the screen much faster. What I was thinking I have to do like the actions, the mutations, and then the state, and then the getters, and they wouldn't see anything on the screen for a while. But this is a much better strategy because it means that I could probably even break this up into more videos. So I really like this. Let's go with that. We'll just do 2 to begin with. And then we create a getter. So we'll comment that out. Whoops. And what this is this is a function that's going to allow us to then get, which is going to allow us to very easily get our entities out of the store. And if we would like that, yeah, I think that's how I'll explain it. This is how we get our entities out of the store. So we will simple return here. And we probably want that as an array, don't we? Yeah. So let's say return state dot entities, but there's a way you can turn that into an array. So JavaScript object with keys to array. Entries, I think that's what it is. You can just say object.entries. So let's try that. Object.entries, which is going to give us the results of that as an array, which will make it a little bit easier for us to deal with. And we can call this maybe to-dos. So this is a getter to get all of our to-dos. And now if we jump into our to-dos list, we can say this is going to accept a property that has all of our to-dos. So what I might do now is I'll come back here. I'm going to get rid of my video of myself. Feels weird. I want to focus. I want you guys to be able to focus on the code, not me. If you disagree, that's totally fine. Let me know and I will bring myself back. I have no qualms being on a camera. So, show sample data. I've already got that showing up there now. And then we can say here, getters. Is that getters.js? Yeah. Getters.js. And then that's going to be the first getter that we create. So we'll do state.js first, then we'll do getters.js. And then I'll probably have to do an explanation on object.entries. And I think I will think to do that anyway. It's pretty obvious to me that this is something that a lot of people won't know about. So I will know that I need to let them know about that. What else? So now that we've done that, we want to jump into our to-do list component. And that needs to be able to accept some properties. So do we start from to-do list or do we start from the outside component in? I think we start from the outside in. What's simpler? Yeah, let's start from the outside in. So this is where you get your to-dos. So now if we go to our index.view file, this is how we can get our to-dos. We'll have to import map getters. Let's see if I can remember how to do all of this. I don't actually use Vuex a lot. I usually use a wrapper around it called Vuex ORM. So we're going to pull map getters out of Vuex, import that from Vuex. And now we can have computed here. And then we can say ... map getters to-dos. And that's basically saying we're going to be using the to-dos module. So if you end up with getters that have multiple different names, this is going to avoid clashes because they're all going to be scoped by their module. So this is scoped to the to-dos module. And the name of the getter, how about it? So then we need to say what it's called in the component. So in the component, we will call it get to-dos, or we can probably even just say to-dos. And then that's going to be mapped to to-dos. So basically what we're saying here, it doesn't like my order of things. It wants me to put the data property up a little higher. Let's try that. There we go. So basically what we're saying here is I want you to jump into the to-dos module and I want you to find the function called to-dos. And then I want you to map that function to to-dos on this component. So that means that if I were to mount this component, so let's come up here and say mounted, and then console.log this .todos, let's have a look at what happens. Why doesn't it like that? This .todos, once again, it doesn't like the order of things. It's saying the computer property should be above the mounted. Oh my gosh, I wish it would move it for me. Maybe there's a way I can actually set that up. I don't know. So let's refresh that page and see if it works. And there we go. We end up with an array of all of our to-dos. Okay, that blatantly did not work. I've obviously done this wrong. Object.entries. I don't even know how this works, if I'm really honest. So key value. All right, what I might do is open my other app and see how I did it, because I don't want to end up with a less good quality version. I'm pretty sure I spent a bit of time researching how to do this in a way that looks really good. So let's jump into getters. And what did I come up with? Object.values. So I didn't say entries, I said object.values. Let's try that and see what happens. And I'll put the other version down there. If we jump into our getters and we say object.values, let's see what we get in the end. And there we go. It gives us all of the objects in there. So this is a really nice way to get, this is a very easy way to pull data out. What am I saying? Now I'm just like smack talking. All right, so that's what I'll do. I will then show them how to use the getter within index.view. So how about that? Show how to use getter in index.view. And then I'm just going to do like the key parts of the code there, which is, we might just add in a script tag. We've got this mounted part here. I might just grab the whole thing, to be honest, and then just cull things that don't make sense to the example I'm doing. I don't need any of that, so let's get rid of that. All we need is the computed part and the mounted part. That's going to help them to understand how that works. All right, so now they know how we can get that data. I will then show them that we want to pass it down to the to-dos list. So this to-dos list is this component within here. Basically, we want to take all of the to-dos we have now and send them through to this component. So we can simply give that a name of, for example, to-dos, a property on there, and we're going to send it down the to-dos. So those to-dos that we have on the computed property are going to be sent through with a prop called to-dos. Now, the fact that these are the same name is good. It means that our API is very consistent. So now let's jump into this to-dos list. And then we'll come down here and we want to have a prop. So let's say props. And this prop is called to-dos. Now, what type is it going to be? It will be an array. And will it have a default value? Well, we can give it a default value if we like, which will simply be an empty array. So if we feed it nothing, it will just show up as an empty array. There we go. That gets reordered for us. And I think that's it. Actually, this should probably be required. So instead of doing that, let's just say required is equal to true. Wouldn't make sense to do it any other way, at least in the current state of our application. So then what we can do is we can use these to-dos. Remember, this is an array of all of our to-dos. So it will be equal to, if we come back to state, it will be equal to something like this. But instead of having those keys, it's just going to be an array of these objects. So let's come back here. And now we can scroll up and basically throw all of those to-dos out as items by saying v-4 is equal to item, or let's say to-do in to-dos. And then we can set the key equal to to-do.id. Save that. Why isn't that coming up? On type unknown. I'm not even using TypeScript here. I don't know why it's getting on my case about that. It's like it's acting like I'm using TypeScript, but I'm not using TypeScript. Anyway, I'm going to ignore that for now. Let's try going back into the component. Oh man, this is annoying. Problems. I don't know what that's all about. It's got something to do with that. No. All right, anyway, let's leave that and just see if it works. Ah, and it is working. So you notice that we have those two to-dos showing up. Now we just need to map the data correctly. So let's come down here, and then we can say to-do.label. So save that, and now those labels are coming through. This is weird. That's all right, I can fix that later on. Maybe Vetters thinks that... Where's my JS config? Is there anything about TypeScript in here? I don't know. What else have we got in this file? I'm pretty sure I do not have TypeScript enabled. Nah, and I haven't put anything on here to suggest that it should be using TypeScript. So I don't know why it's kicking up a fuss about that. It might be one of those things where I close it down and open it up again and it just works. So let's try that. Open up my editor again. And I've opened it in the wrong one. Hang on. CD out of this, CD into Quasar-to-do, open that in code, come back, close this out, and make sure this is on the right screen and throw it on that side. And hopefully it's going to work this time. Nah, I'm getting that weird message again. That's all right. I'm not going to deal with it now. You guys don't want to see me try and fix up some weird scribbly underline error. But if anybody knows why I'm getting that squiggly line when I'm not even using TypeScript, property ID does not exist on type unknown. This looks like very much looks like a TypeScript related thing. Yeah. Anyway, so I reckon that could be one video on its own. And what I could probably do is change the order of things now. So we could make it so that I teach all of that in one video. And then in another video, I teach the API. And then we do actions and mutations. So let's go with that strategy. I like that a lot more. It's going to be so much easier for people to grok if we can break it down into segments like that. So I'm glad we did this. All right, so what have I got here? I'm going to have to change this around. We won't have one Vuex video. Basically, we're going to have a video on the API. So we'll say this. How about we go like this? We'll say Vuex getters, something like that. And I might have to get out of the markdown file so that doesn't mess with that. Vuex getters and state. We might even say state and getters. And there we go. Then we'll have another video that is 05.1 is what I'll call it. And then we'll call this Vuex. This won't be Vuex. So this will just be about the API. Backend API. Maybe just backend API. Or what about to do? A free to do API. How about that? A free to do API. And then 5.2. So 05.2, even though they don't order correctly in my file browser, which is kind of annoying. We can then do actions and mutations. And we'll say here Vuex actions and mutations, something like that. Maybe get rid of that dash. All right, nice. This is going to be so much better. I love that we can split this up. So is this going to be the end of the getters one? Let's just go back in here, open that markdown file up again, and let's see if this will be the end of the getters video. Start the server, create. I don't need any of that anymore. It's not, we're kind of doing things differently now. And I don't need that anymore. Okay, so show how to use getters in index.view. And then we'll say, pass down, maybe something like this. Pass down to component and map to-dos in to-dos component. Look, honestly, this is so obvious to me. I feel like I don't even need these comments anymore. And I don't think I need code snippets anymore, because once you get to this point, it's pretty obvious that I will then simply go to index.view. I'll already be on this page, and then I'll send them down to the to-do, and then I'll pick them up from that list and then spit them out on the page. So that all makes sense to me. Then we'll obviously want to get rid of that code when we're done with that. So this is now ready. I'm now ready to do this video. So let's get out of that and start focusing on the next one. So that's state and getters. Then we've got a free to do API. I know how I'm going to do that. I already practiced that. It's basically just opening up Passport and showing people the API. And we might go into a little bit of detail here, but very basic detail, so I know what I'm doing in order. I need to say open with another application, just kind of annoying. And we'll call this a free to do API. Maybe I'll change that to like using our API with Passport. Is that what it's called? Passport, no, Postman. Jesus, I forgot the name of that. Using our API with Postman. All right, so let's go back into here and change that correctly to correct thing. This is important. I need to title things correctly. Using our API with Postman. And I use these titles in my video descriptions. So I know if anyone's looking up Quasar and Postman, then that will come up, and like, or API and Quasar or whatever. So it's important that I name that correctly. Let's jump into there, and I'll open up Postman again. That's probably going to take a while. It takes a second to, and I think first we'll do the environment variables. So how about we say here, environment variables. Really, it's variable. There's only one, but that's okay. That's self-explanatory. I don't think I'll even need comments for that. And then we'll say to-dos, endpoint. What's going on here? What? It should be this file. I thought I double-clicked on that. Using our API with Postman. Let's save that. All right, it worked that time. Anyway, so then we'll do the to-dos endpoint, and I think that will be it. To-do list, will I cover that? I don't think so. We're just going to go straight to the to-dos endpoint, and we'll leave it at that, I think. Maybe not. We might introduce them to the to-do list so that then they can go ahead and try that on their own if they would like. What about that? Think that's a good idea? I think it is. To-do list endpoint. And the first one you want to do is always going to be a create, and then you'll do an index, and then you'll do something like an update, and then you'll do a delete. So that's usually the order I think that I would teach them in. So let's just add that in there as well. And that's it. I'm happy with teaching Postman based on that. So that's another video I can get done. Whoops. What else? Next, we will have Vuex actions and mutations. So this will be kind of the nuts and bolts of it, which is why I wanted to break it down so much. Once again, it's opened it with the wrong thing. Open with Typora. Really nice markdown editor. I like this. Let's just check that's going to work next time as well. That's frustrating. I want that as the default. All right, I probably need to click on something I didn't read. No, that's all right. It's not worth my time focusing on that. So now the first thing I'll probably want to do is the mutation, and then we'll want to hit that mutation. So let's just like have a little play and see how it works out for us. So we'll go to our map actions, I'm guessing. Our actions. Map actions, gosh, my brain's starting to lose it now. Yeah, we'll jump into our actions, and how about we have one that's called create to do. And now we're going to need our API here, so we'll import API, and we're going to import that from, what was it? boot / Axios. In fact, maybe I should teach this in the Postman video. Maybe I should teach using the API. We'll just go to index.view and we'll do some stuff on mounted. And that'll make the API video a little bit more interesting. And maybe allow me to break it up in a better way. I don't know. I'm going to cut that and just have a play around with this idea and see how it feels. So maybe I could then say, all right, let's go to index.view and actually start playing around with this API. And then we'll jump into a mounted hook. Am I allowed to put mounted there, or is it going to yell at me? No, doesn't mind that. Cool. So then what we can do is we can import our API, and I'll explain all of that as well. So, sorry guys, I know I'm all over the place, but this is what it's like when I'm doing these videos. I need to think these things out. So using our API with post. Oh, actually, a good way to get these in order could be, let's call this 5. Whoops. Why don't we just call that 5.0? Oh, yes, that worked. And then we'll call this one 3.0. Nice. Whoops. Even though I've already recorded these videos, 2.0. And now everything should be in the correct order. Nice, that works really well. So let's come back into here. And using API on with Quasar. And then we can jump into our boot/axios.js file there. So that's when I'll then come into boot/axios, and all that other stuff that I was talking about before will now be done here. Did I put that in the other video? In the other section? I don't think I did. Oh, what am I doing? Getting started guide. I don't think I did anything. Oh, I did have that up here. We don't need it there anymore though, because none of this is related to that API. Fantastic. So now we can extract that from there. How do I grab all of this? Is that going to work? I just do that. Control X. Does that work? I think so. And then we'll go into the other one. And then this can sit down there. So we'll say, yeah, set up. We can get rid of that. API with Quasar. All right. A little bit of organizing needed to be done, but I feel a lot better about this now. And I've always thought to myself, I don't know how I'm going to teach this. It feels like it's a really difficult thing to teach and concept to get across to people. So we will then show them basically the stuff I was talking about before with this file, but then we'll say in index.view, so we'll make this a view file. This is how you actually go ahead and use it. So let's go to index.view. We're importing it here. We've got a mounted hook down here, and then we'll say API dot. I mean, I don't actually have to do it that way. I could say this.api, but we're just going to import it because I think it works better. What Quasar/Wrapper does, that's one of the tutorial videos. So if you're talking about, I'm going to assume you're talking about, where is it? This one here, the wrapping components one. This is where I'm basically talking about extracting components into their own files. So that's kind of what we mean when we say we're wrapping a component. We're sort of moving it into its own file and wrapping it with another component kind of thing. I guess maybe wrapping isn't actually the right terminology here. It's probably not when I really think about it. We're extracting component logic. So that's a good point. So extracting component logic. I'm going to do a question mark there because I don't know if I like that. I need to come up with a better name for this for those few videos. All right, so we've got our index.view, and what are we doing in index.view? We're just going to do a test here on mount. So let's say here mounted, and this is going to, of course, be inside of script. And we can cut that. Whoops. And just whack it directly in there. And let's have a crack at this. So I think I've already got in Axios the API set up. Yep, there it is there. So now we just I want to show them how to make a post request. So I might even do this. I might say const data, or we might even say const form is equal to an object. And how about we say to do form, And then that object will have a label. So we'll call this like my awesome to do. And then we're going to do an API.post to, and the endpoint is going to be to-dos. So we're making a post to our API / to-dos, and the data we're sending through is to-do form. So this is the data we're going to actually send through to our to-dos endpoint. So let's save that. And what I might actually do is say .then. So when this is complete, when you finish sending the data, I want you to take that response and then console.log the response.data. In other words, give me the result. Give me the response of that when you're done with this request. Let's refresh the page and see what happens. And there we go. Here's our response data. And there's the data in there, nested one level deeper. And there's my awesome to-do, the to-do that we have labeled up here. So let's add another one by saying my other awesome to-do with an exclamation mark. I'm going to clear that console and save it. And now that's remounted the component and it's gone ahead and created that to-do for us. So that's how we can use our API now. And then if you wanted to catch any errors, just in case there's errors on the server, you would say .catch and then pull in the error. But more on that later on. Is it something like which discussion goes on Discord? What is this? Tori. I have heard about Tori. I actually talked to the founder of Tori on Discord the other day. He reached out and said hi, which is really cool. Oh wow, Razvan's one of the collaborators, and so is WebNoob and Carlo. These are all people that are part of the Quasar community, which is really cool. Fresh take on. Oh, this is a Tori build for Quasar. What do you mean by Quasar / wrapper? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Wow, I didn't know that this was already in progress. This is super exciting. For those of you that don't know, Tori is kind of like an alternative to things like Electron, and I think even Cordova as well. And you get a tiny, tiny bundle size compared to those. It's extremely efficient. So if we have a Quasar export for this, it's going to be wonderful. Use it in first line of Axios.js. Ah, okay. Axios.js. Good question. I think this has got something to do with the composition API, and it gives us better typing. So you'll notice that this pattern is being used quite a bit now. So if I jump into index.view, I don't know if I kept the code in there. Notice that we've wrapped it inside of define component. That gives us better typing. So if I jump into that file there, notice that we've got a whole bunch of like TypeScript stuff going on in here. I'm pretty sure that's the main reason that you wrap it. You get much, much better typing support. So when I do something like, I don't know, what's an example? Let me just comment that out. When I do something like mounted, see how it sort of comes up here? Or if I say something like data, or just put in the letter D, I can see a whole bunch of things that I've got available to me. I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on this, that the reason we get that extra functionality is because it's wrapped in defined components. So this is basically wrapping everything, and I think that literally just returns the result. Let's actually have a look. Oh gosh, I wouldn't even know where to look. Define async component. God, I don't actually know TypeScript very well yet. But yeah, maybe somebody else can help me with that. And I think basically Quasar is using a similar concept here. So here, by wrapping it in boot, we get a little bit of extra type hinting. I might even try this. There we go. So I think it's telling me now that I can pull app out of there. And I think I got SSR context or the store. There we go. It's telling me that I can pull the store out. I think we got redirect or router. Yeah. So we get a little bit of extra type hinting that I don't think you would usually get. But once again, don't quote me on this. And I think I can also now say app dot. And then I can see everything that I've got available to me with app dot. So we get really nice, a really nice UI experience. I believe, once again, that that's because we are wrapping it with this, with boot. And I'm pretty sure you actually don't need to do this. So if you'd like, you can literally just do that. And everything is still going to work just fine. So let's save that and see what happens. Let me just comment that out. Refresh the page and see if it actually does work. Maybe it doesn't. Okay, so that's a different error. That's telling me API was defined but never used. So that's this here. So let's comment that out as well. Save that. Refresh the page. Yeah. So notice I'm not getting any errors there. That's still booting okay. And if we go into mounted here, I think I still have access to API. So let's try that as well. This is fun. We can experiment a bit. You always ask really good questions, Prashant. And I really hope I'm saying your name right. But yeah, you always ask really interesting questions. Because I didn't even know this. It was just a guess, so it's kind of nice to see. Yeah, so notice that is still working. But now it will be interesting to see if I do get that typing. App dot. And there we go. I've lost all of the typing there. So I think I might be right about that. No typing. Wrap it in boot. So we're basically saying here boot. And then wrap the entire thing in that. Now when I say app dot, I get all of this nice typing available to me. So I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. Vive Cascoder. That is a cool name. How do I actually say that? Or is it like a Viva Cascoder? Vive Cascoder. Hello. Nice to meet you. Where are you from? Let me know where you're from so I can find you on Google Maps. One of my favorite things to do. All right. So, okay, I got a little bit carried away there. So basically we're saying we're going to show them how to do a post request. And I probably should just use a button instead of saying mounted. I'm starting to think here. So how about we call this, let's put this inside of a methods. So I can probably just cut that. So if we jump into methods, okay, it's not on there. We'll have to add in our own methods. Is it okay if I put it there? Is it going to yell at me? Yes, it is. Let's throw it down here instead then. Cool. And we might call this like post test, something like that. And then we can do that. Yeah, India. It's just Vivek. How you really like line height, don't you? I even made it smaller when somebody commented on it, but people, I guess, I don't know. Well, you know what? Jeffrey Way runs laracast.com, and he still gets away with line height, and that's been his career. He's got big line height too, so if he can get away with it, so can I. So I might even like go over to Laracast, have a look at some of his latest videos, and see how much line height I can get away with. Because if anybody knows how much line height they can get away with, it's Jeffrey Way. But yeah, I like line height. It keeps me really focused, and I just enjoy the extra space. All right, so let's move on now. So I'm going to do it this way instead, and I'll say post test there, and then we'll have a button. I might even throw it literally at the top of the button at the page here. So let's say Q-button. Oh, wrote it too quickly. Q-button. Sometimes I have to wait a second for that to show up and before I can press tab. You also love Quasar, just trying it out. Yeah, I'm absolutely obsessed with it. And I'm actually working on a getting started guide for version 2. So when version 2 is released, you'll be able to watch this getting started guide, which I'm literally working on right now. That's what this video is me doing. Yeah, so it's going to be awesome. And it's going to be an easier way for people to get up and running fast with Quasar. So let's say post, or how about create to do as something there. And then, of course, the at method, oh, what am I saying? At click is going to equal post test. Okay, so that's probably a dumb place to put it. Let's cut that. Where else could I put it? I mean, I guess I could just throw it at the bottom here. Or maybe like underneath the page. Because we can... No, that kind of feels funky to me. Maybe here. Yeah, it doesn't matter that it looks funky because I'm basically saying, hey guys, this is what... Oh, you're from Delhi. Okay, let's have a look. I'm basically saying, hey guys, we're just going to test this out. Now you can click on that button and it's going to send a request and then we get the data back. So that's the whole point of this video, just to show that. So let's basically throw that button in. That'll be the first thing I do, throw that button in. Let's say button on index page. So that's going to be that there. And we'll say, and then on index.view, we've also got this mounted section here, which has our post test sitting within methods. So let's do this. Cool. So I'm going to copy the word Delhi there. Delhi, India. I'm always like really curious. Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. Have you been here? I don't even know what that location is, but oh my gosh, wow. Look at that. Look at the... Oh my goodness. Huh! Is that real? Somebody tell me if that's real or not. I think it is. Whoa. Oh my goodness. Man, I really need to visit some of these places. Oh, look at that. I mean, I love coding, but I'd love to see some of these places. Oh, oh, cool. Wait a second. That looks like, what's it called? The Eiffel Tower. Ah, interesting. All right, I don't want to get too carried away with this. That's cool. I love seeing where people are from. Anyway, I need to head off soon. I'm going to watch a movie with my girlfriend. We're currently watching Paranormal Activity, and I got to admit, I'm not a big fan. The first one was good, and it's slowly getting worse, but I desperately want to know what happens, so we're going to watch like the 5th and 6th ones. All right, so we got the create to do button. Let's at least try and get to the end of what I'm going to do for this video. And that's going to run the test, but then I also want to show them how to do... How about instead of just doing a post test, we do a get test as well. So we'll have post test, and then we'll also have get test so that they can test out the API. And we'll call this get to dos. And then we'll come down here and we'll create another method that is get to dos. And this one's going to be a whole lot simpler. We're just going to say API.get. Is that what it is? Get? Yeah. Hit the to-dos endpoint with that. We don't even need to send through any data, so we can literally then just say, then, take in the response, whoops. This is a hard word to spell quickly. And then console.log response, done it again. Response.data.data. All right, so now we can get our to-dos by saying get to-dos. In fact, I might even say just response.data, because then they can see like the entirety of the response. Welcome to India. We are planning to go bike ride to Ladakh. Delhi to Ladakh bike ride. I'm probably butchering that. So I apologize. But let's say Ladakh. Can I say like Delhi, Ladakh? Will that work? Is that the right location? Hey, I'm currently working on my digital project. It's going to be a paid theme made using Tailwind. Nice. Very nice. Oh my God. What even is this? It's like, I've never even seen these color combinations in the planet. This looks like it's made up. Look at that. Look how smooth they look. You do not get mountains like that in Australia. It doesn't happen. and a bunch of JSLib. Any idea how to sell it? Yes, I do have ideas on how to sell it. And my recommendation is to look at the guys. First of all, Russell. Oh, I'm not spelling this right. Russell Brunson. And the other one is, what's his name? It escapes me, Frank Kern. Russell Brunson is the king of selling things through funnels. So basically the website itself that is going to sell your product. Russell Brunson, that's his jam. He's got 3 books. The one in particular you'll be interested in is Expert Secrets. And Expert Secrets will tell you how to sell your product better than just about anybody else could. And in fact, part of the reason I'm doing this stream right now is because of things I've learned from Russell Brunson. And he talks about adding value to people's lives and how that is a great gateway to then like selling your product and ethical selling as well. So I love Russell Brunson. The other one is Frank Kern. He's fantastic for ads. So if you want to run ads on Facebook and do it successfully, this is the guy that you want to learn that kind of thing from. So they're the 2 people I'd recommend for selling things on the internet. But like just a basic rundown, it's actually really simple. Put out a ton of content that helps your dream customer. So if you can figure out who your dream customer is, for me, it's people that want to build Quasar applications and just figure out what they want. That's why I'm doing this live stream. And that's why I'm doing this Getting Started Guide series. What was the book's name? It's called Expert Secrets. You can get it for free online if you go through his funnel. I think it's this one here, but you have to pay for postage and handling, so it does end up being like $20 in the end anyway. But yeah, I love this book, Expert Secrets. There's 3 books in particular he's got. Expert Secrets will tell you how to sell your product as an expert. .com Secrets will tell you how to sell your product, like how to basically build your website, how to make your website look, how to test your website to sell your product. That's called .com. I think it's .com Secrets. There it is there. And then learning traffic, which is really the last piece of the puzzle, is this one here, Traffic Secrets. But the real core book that you need to get onto is Expert Secrets. This to me is like the Bible of selling things online. It tells you how to do it in a way that I believe is ethical, but highly effective. So yeah, Expert Secrets. That's what I'd recommend for selling, honestly, any product online, but it's great for digital products. Yeah. So, once again, Luke gets carried away. I just get really excited with answering questions. So let me just see if I can finish this up now. Get to dos. Let's see if that works. I don't think it was working for some reason. Is that method? Okay, so I've got that method, but I think. Oh, get test. I should have written get to dos. I bet you guys saw that. So let's give that a try. Give it a second, and there we go. That goes ahead and gets our to-dos, but it's not showing up with anything. So let's go ahead and try creating a to-do again. So let's go ahead and create it. Let's say get to-dos. I'm not getting anything there. Weird. Can you suggest a site for multi-browser tests, especially dev tools for mobile browser? Multi-browser test. I don't have a lot of experience testing with multiple browsers, if I'm really honest. In terms of running tests themselves, though, I like to use Cypress. So Cypress.io is the website, and this is kind of becoming the de facto standard for running tests, end-to-end tests. So this is the kind of testing that will actually click around the page, and I can probably run this video and just turn the sound off. So this is for the kind of test that will actually click on your page. So this is your page here, and these are the tests on the left side. The whole thing is totally free, and it will click around the site and test it for you. I love this tool. I think it's wonderful. It does an amazing job of making testing with end-to-end testing easy. Yeah, so that's what I'd recommend there. But in terms of a site for multiple browser tests, I'm not sure. The way I plan on doing it is we will be running our tests on Docker containers. And this Cypress allows you to do parallel testing. So the idea is we'll have maybe 10, 20, however many Docker containers with our website running the test environment. And then Cypress will tell each of those containers what tests they should be running so that it's as efficient as possible. But I'm going to be doing like whole topics on that probably I probably won't get to that for like another like 5 or 6 months because it is a much more in-depth topic. But yeah, that's what I use for testing, Cypress.io, and it's totally free. They've got some paid stuff online if you start getting into more intense testing environments, but for the most part, it's just going to end up being free for you. Wonderful tool. I love it. And Quasar actually has a testing harness for Cypress. So if you want to run tests with Quasar, then just check out the Quasar testing library. Cypress is one of the options. Takes a little bit to set up, but that's always the case with testing. All right, so hopefully that is helpful. Let's figure out why this get to do's button is not getting our to do's. That might be a back-end issue, so I might actually have to try and solve that at a little later time. Let's open up Postman and then try testing that with Postman. And I'll quickly come in here and check that looks right. Yeah, it does. We're hitting the to-do's endpoint. That's hitting the to-do's endpoint. So if I come in here, if we want to see console log of mobile browser, oh, good question. Honestly, I don't know. It's something that I'm going to have to experiment with later on down the line, but I actually don't build I don't build any native mobile applications for Quasar. I do things on the web, and they almost always just work on the browser. So yeah, I don't have a lot of insight. The only problem I've ever had is with date-related stuff, but I was able to fix that. Date-related stuff on Safari, but I was able to get that fixed. So yeah, I'm sorry, I can't really be much help there, unfortunately. I wish I could, but it's not something I have a lot of experience with. All right, so let's just test this API and see if it's an API issue. We'll go to do. I think we've already created some, so let's just run the index query. We get nothing. Let's try and create one. That works. No, it didn't work. Let's get rid of that. Blah, blah. Send that through again. Okay, so that worked. Let's see if we can index them now. Okay, so that is working. Weird. Is it hitting the same endpoint? / to-dos. It's exactly what the endpoint is called. And maybe it's not setting the cookie. I bet you it's not setting the cookie because I'm not on HTTPS. So I need to remember that. I now need to go into dev server, change HTTPS to true, because it's not going to let me send cookies between servers if one of those servers is not on HTTPS. In other words, a secure connection. I might have to come back over here, wait for that to restart. Now I'm going to say advanced, proceed. It's okay. I trust this browser because it's coming from my own computer. That doesn't work. Let's create a to-do. That worked. Let's see if we can get them. Bugger, it's still not working. Anyway, I've got to head off. Going to watch a movie with my girlfriend, spend some time with her. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And as per usual, check out quasarcast.com/register. If you want to watch some of my cleaner videos, these are live streams. Sometimes they're a little bit, just sort of quick and dirty, me messing around on the computer trying to get stuff to work. If you want to watch my cleaner videos, then check out quasarcast.com/register. I've got, I'm especially proud of my component series. So if you actually, I think it's sitting at the bottom. Whoops. Let's just go to quasarcast.com. And I'm especially proud of this series, Quasar Components, where I run through, at the moment, this is just for version 1. They're all version 1 components, but the API is virtually identical. So you're safe to run through this series, learn about the ins and outs of all of these components, and most of that knowledge is going to map onto version 2. So I've got to head. Thanks so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next live stream. Bye for now.